Hey, John Hope Bryant. I want to talk to you about a very serious topic today that really cross-fertilizes with so much going on with history making right now and decision making right now in this country, and a debate right now in this country. It centers on Atlanta and to a larger degree, Georgia. I'm here to make a case for you on, well, the economic case for diversity in Atlanta as the model. I think Atlanta is a moral capital of America. Atlanta has been playing a role in history since the Civil War. This was the place that broke the back of the Confederacy as really the battle for Atlanta raged on, and the Union soldiers marched all the way to the sea and broke the spirit of the Confederate Army. This was the place where the Union soldiers went from here to Savannah, Georgia, to meet 2 hours from here by car, to meet with ecumenical leaders, former slaves, to ask them, what do you want after slavery? Did they say they wanted a welfare program or handouts? No. They said we wanted land. We want to do for ourselves. That was the start of what you call 40 acres and a mule. Field Action 15 was signed in Savannah, Georgia, a short distance from Atlanta. This was the place that after that first Reconstruction, which was getting folks from the fields to the farms, their own farms. And unfortunately, that whole effort was thwarted because Lincoln was assassinated. And people like Frederick Douglass didn't have enough backup from enough good people to keep Reconstruction going. So that movement was thwarted, and we never truly became free, became physically free, blacks, but really became also slaves to debt and bondage when we moved to those farms. Unfortunately, those farms were dealing with a Jim Crow version of farming. And we didn't own the farms that we were on, but that's another story for another time. But that Reconstruction period flipped into a period of struggle in this country. And Atlanta, the moral capital, rose again in the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, where my mentor, Ambassador Andrew Young, and his friend, Dr. King, operated out of this city. And once again, Atlanta rose as a beacon for the nation. And here comes a movement really getting us from the fields to the farms, yes, but then from the farms to the factories and to the freedom booths for voting, the freedom stations, bus stations, the freedom highways, access and opportunity for all. That really brought on a generation of government participation, elected officials, the birth of the middle class in America that happened to be black. And here comes Atlanta again in what I call the third Reconstruction, now to 2030. And that's really about moving us from the mean streets to the business suites. That's really about an issue of really about class and poverty more than so than race and the color line. The color's not red or blue as in political party here. It's not black or white as in race here. The color is, if anything, it's green as in the color of U.S. currency, sustainability, and growth. So you might say this is a nice little speech that John has given for 3.5 minutes, but it's all platitudes and it's past history. What does that have to do with today? Diversity and inclusion. And inclusion is a giveaway program. There's no benefit in it whatsoever. You know what I love about math? It doesn't have an opinion. That's a quote of Melody Hobson that I borrow. So that would actually be wrong. Here are the facts. Diversity and inclusion actually is a business case. Maybe you just tell folks to start watching this video at the 3-minute and 50-second mark. And I want you to spread this video everywhere. Cut it, split it, share it, slice it, dice it, place it on your website, because this is a drop the mic moment. Atlanta is the only international city in the South. Thank you, Andrew Young. Atlanta is the only global economy in the South. Atlanta is the biggest economy in the American South. They call it the South Coast. Atlanta is, hold on, the 10th largest economy in the United States of America. Let me let that sink in for a moment. You take the 7 counties of Atlanta out of the 150 counties of Georgia. And Georgia competes with Alabama and Mississippi for its poverty place in the United States of America. You take Alabama and Mississippi together, and Georgia is about the same size. And Mississippi is still arguably, I think it is the poorest state in America. It's either Mississippi or West Virginia. And so the economy of Mississippi is about 99 billion. The economy of Alabama is about 220 billion. The economy of Atlanta, Georgia is approaching $400 billion. Not the state, the city, or the greater Atlanta, which is the 7 county areas. $400 billion, just below that, which means we're almost as big as the nation called Norway, which means we are bigger than nations like Venezuela or Israel. This is unbelievable. And the whole state of Georgia is about 600, give or take, $billion, which means that we are 2/3 of the state's economy. So the state wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for Atlanta's economic growth. And Atlanta's about diversity and inclusion. It gets better. Atlanta is one of the top 20 city economies in the world. You thought I was going to say the United States, didn't you? The world. I know you don't believe me. Check it out for yourself. It gets better. If Atlanta was a country, she'd be in the top 35 GDP, gross domestic product, countries in the world. And this is a country, this is a city built by black folks and white folks working together. Maynard Jackson created the black middle class. And Ambassador Andrew Young built on that and creating an international city that's world class. And you have successive leaders today that are continuing that legacy, including our current mayor today, Ms. Keisha Lance Bottoms. So we are proving here that diversity and inclusion is actually a business case. And one of the reasons you see all these private sector leaders stepping up and saying, knock it off with the silliness here in Georgia, is that one of the things that every growing economy shares is a spirit of diversity and inclusion, and a sign at the entry of the state that says all who are legal and ethical and honest and hardworking and want to contribute are welcome here. So when you do things that reverse that spirit, you hurt the economy for all of us in this state and in this city. You can take no pleasure from the fact there's a hole in my end of our boat. Let me end with some statistics that sort of tie all this together, because you might say John Bryant just got lucky on statistics about Atlanta. All right, let me go one step further. According to McKinsey and Company and some of the most conservative folks in this country, if you want to find a growing company, region, or economy, look for one that's diverse and inclusive. You want to find an economy stuck on stupid? Look for one that's acting, well, stupidly and rejecting diversity and inclusion. What are the 2 largest economies in the U.S.? Well, what's the largest economy in the world? The United States of America, the largest economy in the world, and the economy with the most diverse people of any, the only country with every race of people within its borders. What are the 2 largest economies in the U.S.? California and New York, specifically Los Angeles and Manhattan. What are the 2 most diverse places in the U.S.? Can't make this up. Los Angeles and Manhattan. What are the 3 most diverse places in the country in the corners? New York, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. Most diverse, biggest economies. Look, this is a case where the math is actually on the side of justice and not just us. The Citigroup report recently issued showed that discrimination against blacks in the last 20 years alone, black business mostly, resulted in a $16 trillion hit, a levy, a tax on all of us, on our GDP, gross domestic product. I said trillion, not billion, not million, trillion, which means that if we just knock it off right now, you pick up $1 trillion a year in additional GDP, which means that if you invest in black business, even the racist wins. This is why we're doing 1 million black businesses at Operation Hope, to create 1 million new black businesses over the next 10 years between now and 2030. This is why we're all in on the third Reconstruction. Please research that on the internet. Write it. I wrote it at John O'Brien, the third Reconstruction, and read what I write about social justice through an economic lens. This is why we believe there's a need for a new Marshall Plan today. And the current administration, the Biden administration, deserves credit for moving on many of the things that I wrote in that new Marshall Plan. I'm sure they did it all on their own because they've got just good common sense. It just shows that people with common sense think alike. We are sitting in a moment in history right now. But history does not feel historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day. All we're talking about here is expanding the chair, Stephanie Ruhle quote, and adding a seat. Expanding the table and adding a chair. Expanding the table and adding a seat. That's all we're talking about here. So no one loses. My there's never been a case in America that an educated 55-year-old white man has not done well if he chose to, since the beginning of time to today and in the future. So stop worrying. This is not about Xing you out from your job or opportunity. In fact, if we grow the economy, because more people that of diverse means are included in it, even the white man wins. There's three things that have never reversed in this society: real estate values, stock market values, and GDP in the long arc of history of America. If you just lean in and give it everything you got, we all win, and you expand the table to include opportunity for all of God's children. We just got to get everybody educated, skilled up, including my poor white brothers and sisters, including my Native American brothers and sisters. We got to get everybody, of course, my African American brothers and sisters. Everybody's been left behind, rejected, not excluded. We got to get them suited up, rehabilitated, and on the field for economic prosperity for all. Go to operationhope.org, sign up at the Hope Channel, operationhopechannel.org, and for updates on our messaging, for updates on our work. Go to Hope Global Forums for .org for messaging on our upcoming meetings. And if you want to be a black business, go to hope1mbb.org. See, I don't have any notes. It's off the top of my head. And sign up there. Or just go download our Hope in Hand app for the Android or the Apple mobile phone. And we're right there. Hope in your hands. This is Operation Hope, a new civil rights movement for me and for you. We're living in a moment in history. What are you going to contribute to it? Let's go.